Does it feel like 2025 just kind of got away from you? You had all these goals, all these things you wanted to do, and now it's August and you're going, I didn't do any of them, especially when it comes to your finances. What were those goals anyhow? Do you even remember? Well, you're not alone. You probably know most people put these resolutions in place and they never do anything about them. But you're going to be different because you're actually going to start to implement now. You've got 5 months left in the year. I'm recording this at the beginning of August of 2025, and we are going to make some tweaks so that you can feel successful once the bell rings to 2026 and you are ready to go because you did not let a whole year go by. You started mid-year, which is fine. So this video is going to be about resetting, refocusing, and reclaiming your financial goals. If that sounds good to you, stick around because that's what we're going to be talking about. Now, before I get into the first step, I want to introduce myself to anybody who doesn't know. I'm Lisa. I've been a financial advisor for over 14 years, and I help people get to financial freedom as quickly as possible. And so I have a lot of experience of seeing people say they want to do something and they don't get it accomplished. And it can be really hard on people. So why not start now rather than waiting for the beginning of the year? It's like waiting for Monday for your diet, right? We always say we're going to start Monday for our diet. Monday, Tuesday goes pretty good, but by the time we get to Friday, it's all fallen apart. So maybe we should have just started last Thursday when we thought we'll start on Monday, right? So we really want to start the 2026 off strong, and by really getting some things accomplished in 2025, you're going to have a much better momentum going into 2026. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so let's get into it. Step number 1 is reviewing what you actually wanted to do in 2025. So if you wrote them down, dust that off. Start reading through what your goals were. If you didn't write them down, maybe just have a Zen moment and start thinking about what you thought you actually wanted to accomplish in 2025. Was it to save more? Was it to get that down payment for a house? Was it to see where you were in regards to your financial freedom journey, I should say? Is it any of those things? It might not have been any of those. It might have been to be able to save up to buy that beautiful Prada dress that you wanted to buy. Whatever your goals were, take a look at them and see what you actually wanted to do. And you want to see if any of your priorities have shifted. So maybe at the beginning of this year, it was to get rich. I want to be rich by the time 2026 comes around. And now it's more like, I just want peace of mind. I just want to know that if my car breaks down, I have the money to pay for it. Those are two different goals. Neither one of them are bad. It's just, what are we trying to accomplish? And it doesn't mean that your goals have to be done at the end of 2025. I think that's the thing, is that people think you've got to accomplish something by the end of 2025. You've got to save this much by the end of 2025. Maybe your goal is start saving more. Now, you know me, if you've watched these before, I'm going to tell you do need detail behind that, and we are going to get to that. However, your overall goal doesn't have to be that detailed because we're going to go back in and fill all that in. So rewrite your goals with fresh language, and it can revive your motivation to get started on this. And I do suggest, a lot of people will type them out or just put them on their phone. I actually think a nice journal and writing them down physically is a good way to do that. And oftentimes I tell people to write them down at least once a week, just so you don't forget what they are, so you're not having to redo this, 2 months from now when you've got 3 months left in the year. Step number 2 is going to be reassess your current landscaping. How much are you really spending? Are you spending more than you did at the end of 2024? Are you spending less? Where is that money going? Have you had unexpected changes? Maybe some travel, maybe somebody passed away, maybe something has changed. Those things change our perspective. And I always say, there's two sides of this. I always say, if you don't know where you're going, there's no way to get there, right? So that's your goals. If you don't know what your end game is, then it's really hard to put a plan together. The opposite is true though. If you don't know where you're starting, it's impossible to put together a route to get to your end goal, because I don't know where we're starting. I don't know if I'm starting at 0. I don't know if I'm starting at the 30-yard line, for all your football fans, and I'm going to totally do that wrong, I'm sure, because I watch football with my husband, and that's it. But you just want to know where you're starting from, right? So you need to know where you're starting from, which is the current assessment of where you are and where you're going. Now, if you say, I have no idea and I didn't have a current assessment to begin with, we will get to some things you can do to kind of get an idea of what your current assessment is. And I just realized you probably are wondering what I'm looking at. I'm looking at my notes. So there you go. All right. So look at June statements. July statements if they're out, but June statements, and start to categorize your spending. Bring that awareness to you so you get some clarity, okay? And if it's shocking to you how much you spent, then there's a good possibility that you might be spending more than you used to. So that's good to start just by looking at your statements, meaning credit card and bank. Look at both. Okay, number 3, rebuild your mid-year plan. So we're going to do a 5-month action plan, and we're going to simplify it, okay? So you're going to have one savings goal, one debt strategy goal, if that is an issue for you, and one habit tweak. So maybe it's reviewing your finances once a week with a cup of coffee for 15 minutes. When I say reviewing finances, it might be looking at credit card statements online that are up to date, right? And you can see what you spent last week. It might be assessing how much you're saving. Those little things can make a big difference, because if you're aware of it, you'll take action on it. And so these 3 things, these 3 goals, if you can focus on just these 3 things, then you will learn you don't need to do a full remodel of everything. You just need to tidy it up a bit and see where the tweaks need to happen. Maybe that's, taking that Instapot that you haven't used in 5 years, that's me, and moving it under and putting something new there that will be better served, maybe an ice maker, which is what we did recently. Small tweaks really can add up to big wins. And I think people underestimate this. We think we've got to do big, and really we just need to do some small tweaks that are going to make the difference. All right, step number 4 is automate where you can. Now, you know me, if you've seen videos before, I like automation. I think it's a little dangerous though, so hear me out. Obviously, set up auto transfers for savings or investments. That takes the work out of it, okay? You can schedule recurring calendar reminders for check-ins. And this is the piece that people are like, well, why? I've got it automated. Why do I need to set? Because technology has problems. Sometimes it stops doing it, right? So you need to check to make sure it's actually doing what you want it to do. The other thing is that you want to see if you can do better. Challenge yourself, make it a game. And so automation is great for a starting point, but that doesn't mean you just don't do anything after that. You do need to go and take a look at, could you be doing more? Could you be saving more? Could you be investing more? You need to look at your investments pretty regularly to make sure they're still on track for what you want. Things like that. And so just because something's automated doesn't mean that you check out of the whole thing. And that's the thing that I think people don't realize. Automation's like meal prepping for your finances, right? It's a way less likely to panic spend on emotional takeout. I like that. That's ChatGPT gave me that. I like that. Okay, so don't know if it made sense, but it was fun. All right, step number 5 is cutting dead weight. Now, you know what that means. It means, what are we spending money on that we shouldn't be spending money on? And it's not a shouldn't, right? That we don't need to be spending money on. Maybe it's subscriptions you don't use, unused memberships. Every time I think of memberships, I think of that Friends episode where Chandler is trying to leave the bank, and he can't leave the bank, and then Ross goes in and they end up having a joint bank account together. It's hysterical. But there are tons of memberships that we have, like maybe your gym and things like that you're not using, and should you be getting rid of them and assessing them pretty regularly. And looking at your credit card statements will help you assess this much faster, just FYI. And then recurring things like apps. I have Google phone, I have an Android. and those Google Play things just pop up and you're like, what the heck is that? They do have a way for you to look at your subscriptions on there. I'm sure Apple does too. So just make sure that you're looking at stuff. And as a bonus to yourself, since we only have 5 months left, maybe you do a 30-day no buy challenge or no buy weekends. That's challenging for a lot of people, but Saturday is our most expensive day, so that could save you a lot of money. Or $100 reset challenge, or maybe you spend this amount on tools for your workshop and you need to spend this amount for that. Different things like that. Reallocate your attention to your savings and to where you can stop mindless spending that we do, because the mindless spending is the thing that really is the most expensive thing. And you can really loosen things up for yourself. And if your goal is peace of mind, telling you peace of mind comes very quickly if you start doing that. Okay, step number 6 is one that most people don't do and is probably the reason that you didn't start at the beginning of 2025, I should say. And it's reconnecting with why this matters. Why are you doing this? Is it because you want financial freedom and you want more time with your family? Is it being able to leave that toxic job? Is it being able to go back to school and learn something that you really truly enjoy? Is it not having panic when it comes to paying credit cards or a car breakdown or something happening that you don't have the money to pay for? Is it not having an issue if a parent or loved one needs something and you have to provide some funds for that? You've got to write down your why. And if you don't write that down, this is going to be much harder to do. And you've got to be vulnerable. It's just you. If you can't be vulnerable with yourself, if you can't be honest with yourself, this whole process is going to be hard. And I'm not a therapist. I don't play one on television. I just know that this is a huge component of it. So when you write your goals down in your journal, take a couple pages or at least a page and write down why you're doing this, and continue to read that over and over again and make changes. If things change and parents are doing good, so that's not your motivation anymore, what is your motivation now? So the why is super important. Like Simon Sinek, why? That's what you got to focus on when it comes to getting back on track and getting motivated to get 2025 back on track and do your thing. Can I say back on track one more time? Maybe I'll say it again. Okay, so step number 7 is get the support you need, okay? Whether it's coming to somebody like me or whether it's, having a friend who's really good at money, or maybe a friend that's having problems too that you guys can talk things out. Maybe it's having a Money Monday habit that you guys write each other what you did good this last week for your money challenge or something like that. You don't need to do this alone. It's very hard to do this alone, especially if you tend to overspend or, you have some habits you're trying to break. It's easier to do that when you have a friend. I mean, if you're trying to get into yoga, we all know, have a friend that's going with you to yoga. You've got to show up if she's going to be there, right? So same thing with finances. If somebody is there holding you accountable, and that doesn't mean wagging their finger and being nasty, okay? That means helping you through this stuff. You've got a much better shot at it. So I would say you've got time. This is our kind of wrap up of this. You've got time. You're going to be fine. You've just got to get things started, right? And stop making the excuses. And if you can get those things done, and I would say first steps, write down your goals, reassess what your goals were in 2025, write down your new ones in new language, and write down your why. Those two will start to propel you into your one goal for savings, one goal for debt, and one habit you're going to change in the next 5 months. So take 2025 back. Get financially free as quickly as possible by just getting started. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please stick around, come back. We have more videos like this coming up. And just stay strong. Stay kind to yourself. That's the biggest thing that happens is we talk to ourselves such a negative way when it comes to our money. if you would just be kind to yourself and talk to yourself like you would talk to anybody else you love and respect, you will do so much better. So stay strong out there, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.